Welcome to Faith in 5, a weekly video devotional designed to discuss practical spiritual concepts in 5 minutes or less. I'm your host, Mark Vandella. Malcolm Gladwell has a podcast called Revisionist History, where he takes a look at events, historical events, and tries to look at them through a different lens. Like, what would this look like if it was told through this lens? Would history change at all? And he just did one recently in this last season about a song by Elvis. And it is, I think it's called Are You Lonesome Tonight? At least that's the main lyrics in it. And he just explores this, and he's kind of becomes fascinated by it. And he's reading about psychology. And in this psychology book, a group of psychologists actually studied it. And they studied Elvis in this song. And they compared it. They used the term that we now know as Freudian slips. Parallaxis is the psychological term. And what they found was that when there's something that we don't like or something that makes us feel exposed or vulnerable, you can see it in Freudian slips. That's why we have that. It's something that is built in to our brain that protects us from places where we feel exposed and vulnerable. And Malcolm Gladwell goes on and explains that in this song, Elvis has written a song about being lonely, and when he sings the lyrics, he does it perfectly. But anytime that there's a bridge that's a spoken word where he starts talking about his relationship, and then it becomes personal. Would you do this? Or what about this? And then a psychologist has studied this show that in hundreds of recorded live videos of him doing this song, he never gets it right. Because there's something real there. There's something real behind it. And Malcolm Gladwell brings in a couple of artists, a couple famous people to sing other songs that they've done. And they've asked what they've experienced. And one of the artists he brings into the studio sings a song about her mom. And there's a part in it that gets real and it gets painful and hard. And she said that she forgets the words every time. And Malcolm Gladwell is fascinated by this. And he has her continue to sing it. And she on the podcast says it's gone. It's just, I know this. I wrote this song. And when I sing it, it's gone. And I just always thought it was because I have a forgetful brain. But yet, I can recall lyrics from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, or I can recall lyrics from my favorite commercial. It's not forgetfulness. It's a protection against vulnerability. And I love it. She is at the end kind of apologizing for not getting the song right and feeling really weird and reflectant on it. And Malcolm Gladwell says, you know what? A lesser person would have sang it flawlessly. Today, we're talking about vulnerability. And instead of protecting ourselves from vulnerability and feeling like that's a human flaw, like Freudian slips, parallaxis is a human flaw. No, what it is beautiful. It shows us that we are human and you are human and you have those things and I have those things. None of us are free of things in our brains, in our hearts, and our souls that are not ugly or broken or we're scared. And so, this week, I want us to consider where are the places that we are most vulnerable, and then what do we do to hide from it? Because instead, what if we saw it more as vulnerability is a gift? Because that gift is something we don't have to apologize for, but it's something that allows us to have common ground. It allows us to lean on something bigger than ourselves to understand that we are human. In the Bible, it says in John 4:18, it says that such love, perfect love, Jesus' love, has no fear. It drives out fear because perfect love expels all fear. If we're afraid, it's for fear of punishment, fear of things that we have no control over, and it shows that we have not fully experienced this perfect love. So when we protect ourselves from being vulnerable and we build walls around ourselves, we don't want to let other people in. We're actually discounting the love that Jesus showed us when he committed his life for us. When I think about the life of Jesus and the end, when he's facing his biggest fear, he shows us vulnerability. When he cries out in the garden, he is afraid. But he still steps into, because perfect love drives out that fear, he stepped into it. And I think that our faith requires us to step into vulnerable places. And as you experience your faith, as you engage your faith this week, consider two things. Consider, one, the places, the gifts that you could give to people by being vulnerable. Show them that you are not perfect. Don't bring your shiny perfect. Bring the real you, because that's a gift to other people. But also, when somebody else hands you that gift of vulnerability and they share something deep inside of them, respond with the love that Jesus talks about. That Jesus shows us that perfect love drives out fear. There's nothing that somebody can tell you that's beyond our imagination. Let them share that vulnerability, because a lesser person wouldn't do so. This week, in your faith, remember that perfect love drives out fear.